2025. As we gather, we are reminded that the town of Bonnyville is situated on Treaty 6 land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history and is the traditional homeland and home to First Nation and Métis people today. We respect the histories, languages, and cultures of First Nation, Métis, and all First People of Canada whose presence continues to enrich our community. Before us, we have an agenda. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
There's no additions at this time, Madam Mayor.
Okay, we'll look for a motion to accept as presented. Councillor Blanchette.
I will move adoption of the agenda as presented, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Next, we have the council meeting minutes from July 8th, 2025. Any additions or deletions, changes to those meeting minutes? Seeing none, motion to approve then as presented. Councillor Sharoon.
I will move the council meeting minutes July 8th, 2025.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, we've got quite a few delegations this evening. First up, the Bonnyville Sports Tourism Strategy by RC Strategies. Welcome, if you don't mind coming up. I believe we do have a copy, and then there's a copy up there too. If you don't mind having your microphone on, please.
You bet. Great.
Thank you.
Nice to see everyone, as always. And appreciate being early up on the agenda here on such a beautiful evening. Yeah, really pleased here to formally have an opportunity to present the final sports tourism strategy to all of you. It's been a bit of a journey here, and we'll recap a little bit of that tonight, and then obviously conclude with the strategic direction and recommendations provided by the strategy. Please go to the next slide, please. So in terms of the presentation here, we'll spend a few minutes just recapping the process and inputs, followed by some of the key findings and highlights from the engagement and research, which really provided the foundation of information and data that was used to develop the strategy recommendations, and then lastly we'll get into the strategy overview and certainly take any questions that you would have. Next slide, please. We can just go right from here to the overview of the process. So really the process was undertaken over three sequential stages or phases. The first being the research and engagement. So really an opportunity for us to learn about the current state of sport tourism in the community, what the strengths are, what the opportunities are, what some maybe the challenges are that we need to be looking at providing some direction on, looking at best practices, and obviously engaging with the community kind of around all of that. We then took that information and used that to kind of vision or set strategic direction, which occurred over a handful of presentations with council and staff, and then obviously internally with members of the consulting team as well. And then we developed the draft strategy, reviewed that with the community, and that led to where we are now, which is the final version of the strategy. Next slide, please. So the strategy encompasses two standalone documents. So the one on the left side of the screen there is the research and engagement findings report. So that's really the home for all of what we learned. So all of the engagement, all of the research, all of the analysis, which again we presented previously to council. And then on the right is the document for the sport tourism strategy itself. So that's the move forward recommendations for sport tourism here in Bonnyville. Next slide, please. We can just go forward. So review some of the key findings here. And again, this is just some curated highlights that we thought we would just kind of pull out and share just to refresh everybody's memory a little bit on some of the really important things that we learned as we went along through the research and engagement. I said the first thing really important is just that residents here in the community and surrounding area place a high value on sport tourism opportunities and support and believe that they are a worthwhile endeavor. That was a real clear theme of the engagement, just validating that residents, they want to be engaged in community events, they want to volunteer in community events, they see them as being really important to quality of life, and in some ways, and it's probably a little bit intrinsic and hard to measure, reasons why people would move to and stay in a community. So you can see on the screen there, when we asked in the resident survey, kind of the wheel graphic on the left, majority of respondents had actually attended a sport and recreation event over the previous 2 years. And then on the right in the table there, when we asked about agreement with some value statements, things like, are sport and recreation, tourism and events important to your household, the community, connectedness, things like that. You can definitely see that kind of the strongly agree is sort of the overwhelming response there. So again, just kind of validating the importance of sport tourism to the community. Next slide, please. We had a firm called Nichols on our team, which we'll get to in a second, just around some of the kind of specific analysis they did on kind of the impact of different events to the community financially. But we also employed a data tool called Propulso, which is using movement data or mobility data to get a sense of like what is the incremental impact in terms of just pure numbers and visitation for different types of events to the community. So we employed this tool and looked specifically at the C2 Center, and it would suggest that if we look at kind of a like-for-like day, a day that has an event versus a day that doesn't have an event, the day that has an event, the incremental adult visitor impact is between about 200 and 900 people a day. Obviously, we know most adults that are going to a lot of events, hockey tournaments and such, volleyball tournaments, they're actually going there because of their kids. So that's probably a significant underestimation. Just with the tool, we can only measure adult visitors because of privacy rules. But anyway, shows that there's a significant impact in terms of events and what that draws to a facility like the C2 Center. Nichols did some analysis around gross domestic product impact of a few kind of selected types of events that occur. They kind of modeled out a typical Pontiac's game and reflects that kind of the GDP impact to Bonnyville is about $23,000 per game, per typical game. So, quite significant if you kind of extrapolate that over a season. And that wouldn't include things like camps and so forth. That's just looking at kind of a typical game day. Looking at the Winterland Invitational Classic, that they modeled that out in its duration as providing about $153,000 GDP benefit to the town itself, and over $300,000 regionally. So again, that's just another example of how significant these events are in terms of generating incremental spending in the community. We kind of look at sort of facility capacity, and one of the, I don't even know if I'd say it's a finding, it's more of a reiteration or validation, but one of the limiting factors here for sport tourism, if we look at a SWOT analysis and we look at weaknesses, it would be indoor facility capacity. So there's not a lot of available ice time at the arenas, so it's not like there's a whole bunch of ice that we can reallocate towards new tournaments coming to the community. And very similar with the field house, there's not a whole bunch of kind of prime time weekend to evening capacity to reallocate to new types of things that we could bring in. And obviously, the pool's been much discussed in the community. It has very limited, if any, competition hosting capability. So indoor facility space is just a limiting factor, and obviously we have to consider that when we're being realistic about what can be brought into the community in terms of what those opportunities are. Next slide, please. Just a couple more slides here on some key findings. Bonnyville certainly has a strong kind of service sector and human assets that we would suggest can be further leveraged. The demographics certainly support that the population is well predisposed to support sport tourism, as the residents told us directly themselves. We know that there is some hotel capacity during certain times of the year. Obviously, there are certain times where hotels are quite busy, but there are certain times when the data would suggest capacity does exist. And when we look at some of the analytics tools available to us that do some segmentation of population and demographics, again, that would suggest that a lot of residents in Bonnyville are interested in sports and recreation. We use a tool called Environics Prism, which takes the Canadian population and segments it into, I think, 67 different segments. Then we can kind of look at a community and identify what the top 3 are. And 27% of Bonnyville households sort of fall into what they call suburban sports, meaning that sports and recreation are a key interest. It's a key activity they spend money on, and so forth. So again, just reiterating that there is a captive market here for different types of events and activities related to sport and recreation. And then the final key finding I just want to share before we get into the actual strategy content here. again, probably more of a validation or something we uncovered, more so than any sort of nugget of gold here. But we would definitely suggest that there are some opportunities to better leverage outdoor assets and really capitalize on some of those easy win opportunities. So if we reflect back a couple slides, we know that there isn't a bunch of indoor space that we can kind of draw events into, but there is quite a bit of outdoor space that is available. There's, some kind of undercapitalized on market segments for sport tourism. And as you'll see when we get into the strategy content, that's where we're really suggesting a lot of efforts be focused on. Next slide, please. Okay, so that brings us into the strategy content. So the strategy encompasses 8 actions, so 8 kind of core recommendations, and those are organized under 3 goals. So I'll just go through each of the 3 goals here really quick before we get into the actions. Goal number 1, improving the sport tourism system. So that's really creating kind of that foundation or that system that can support sport and recreation and related, arts and cultural tourism, helping kind of ensure that there's capacity amongst volunteers. There's capacity in terms of kind of the staff infrastructure and so on. Goal number 2, better leveraging existing assets. So that's taking what we already have and trying to kind of squeeze a little bit more out of that lemon, if you will. Recognizing that, there isn't a money tree to go invest in a whole bunch of new facilities immediately, but there are assets that we can make a little bit better use of. And then the third goal is optimizing infrastructure kind of for the future. So some of those more larger ticket items related to infrastructure and what that might mean in terms of sport tourism benefit down the road. Let's go to the next slide. So I'll go through the sport tourism, the system actions here first. So 1A, and we'll touch a little bit on this later as well, and this one really encompasses a lot of the other actions we're recommending, which would be to create a sport and recreation staff function within the town. So right now, as council is well aware, there isn't really this dedicated position within your current staffing model. And in order to execute on some of what we're recommending, you really do need to have somebody that has kind of the skill sets and the time and resources to go out and kind of push forward some of these recommendations. 1B would be to just improve data collection management and access. So one thing that was a bit challenging through the process here was actually trying to get and disseminate information. And by having a bit more data on hand, that'll support future decision making in terms of having data to decide, should we do this event or that event, or like, where should we really be focusing our efforts? So that kind of relates a little bit back to the staff function as well, potentially. And then 1C, investigating a fee or a levy option to generate additional resources to support sport tourism, something that I know the town has looked at in the past, and we're certainly suggesting again to continue exploring what those options are. We definitely know that there are limitations to how kind of an accommodation related levy or other types of fees can be used, but worthwhile to continue going down that path to generate revenue to support some of the sport tourism actions and initiatives in the future. Go to the next slide, please. So moving on to goal 2, actions, better leveraging existing assets. So we're suggesting to increase the focus on smaller and emerging types of events. So there are a lot of different kind of new non-traditional types of sport tourism events that can be pursued, and a lot of other communities around the province and beyond are having success at chasing things like, disc golf tournaments and, kind of bird watching groups and, things like that can come to a community and, sort of you stack a bunch of those on top of each other and they can have a pretty significant impact. So obviously you need someone out there to kind of chase a lot of those types of activities, but we do certainly think that there's a lot of benefit and value in doing so. 2B, supporting existing events interested in expanding their reach in secondary activities. So something we heard quite a bit about through our engagement with a lot of the user groups was that they are interested in growing their events and adding on kind of secondary events. So, they may want to have kind of a dinner, or they may want to, partner up with another group to do something kind of on their event weekend. And they just need a little bit of help, and they need sort of someone to go to help kind of make that happen and get all the permitting, in place and kind of help sort of deal with some of the coordination and logistical items related to that. So we see that as being, I don't know if I call it an easy win, but there's certainly some opportunity there. 2C, work regionally to grow outdoor recreation and nature-based tourism opportunities. We know that, there is some regional collaboration going on around things like, Alberta Games and things like that, but there probably is some more opportunity to collaborate with your regional partners, as well as regional providers of outdoor recreation opportunities, campground providers, the golf club, the MD, and so forth, to create more kind of packages and create more kind of leverage opportunities, recognizing that Bonnyville is a real sort of staging hub for a lot of those things. People sort of have to come through here for services and then kind of go on elsewhere in the region. And some of the kind of the narrative in the strategy talks a lot about how that could occur at a bit more comprehensive level. And then moving on to the goal 3 actions here, optimizing infrastructure, and really kind of 2 core things here. And like all the other actions, there's a lot more kind of narrative on this in the strategy itself. But 3A, suggesting to work with your outdoor sport field and ball user groups to develop a 5-year plan to look at kind of amenity additions and upgrades on those sites. So we heard a lot about different opportunities, things like adding camping and enhancing Walsh Field to provide more opportunity to host kind of larger scale regional, provincial level events. And there's really just a need to kind of work with those groups to prioritize some of those items, some of which have a little bit more significant costs and some which maybe not quite as much. But working with those groups and having them be active partners in determining what those priorities are, we would suggest is a good next step coming out of the strategy. And then 3B, obviously there's a lot of larger ticket items that the town and other jurisdictions in the region have explored before. And really we're suggesting to continue working with those regional partners around those. So we know that, an indoor pool, the benefits and need for that facility is kind of not in question. It's more just a resourcing question at this point and trying to figure out how to resource that. So continuing to work towards that. Looking at some of the ongoing planning that I know you're engaged with your C2 partners around the future of that facility and what the next number of decades look like in terms of ice and field house capacity and arena modernizations. So just we're suggesting or reiterating the importance of engaging in those discussions to try to work through resourcing those projects. And then just one last slide here before we conclude and take any questions. So just want to end off on some key implementation considerations and really kind of hit home again the importance we think of looking at figuring out some staff resourcing around some of these items. A lot of these things need kind of that person at some point to really push them forward, or they're not going to get pushed forward. And some of those specific things that we just wanted to again highlight, supporting existing groups with growing some of those core and secondary events. They need someone that they can kind of work with on an ongoing basis to grow their events and undertake some of those secondary activities. Working with existing groups around some of those priority capital investments, particularly the ball diamond and sport field groups, having someone that they can dialogue with to kind of prioritize and come up with a bit of an idea of how those are going to be fundraised for and what's the sequencing there. Identifying potential new events and hosting opportunities. So I mentioned things like the disc golf or the 5K that you can maybe attract to town. You need someone to kind of be the person to go out and create connections, provincially or regionally with some of those sport and recreation groups that might be interested in coming to Bonnyville to host their pickleball tournament or their disc golf tournament. There needs to be a contact there. And then lastly, the data piece, having that person that can manage the data and metrics related to event hosting. Overall, I guess what we would suggest is that, this staff function really needs to have kind of that community development and relationship building skill set. They're not necessarily a facility manager or a programmer per se. They really need to be that kind of relationship builder, almost sort of the account manager for sport and recreation tourism in the region, or in the community rather. Okay, that's the end of my presentation, and happy to take any questions you might have.
All right, thank you. I will open it up to council. Any questions on the presentation this evening or the sports tourism strategy that was presented to us? Any questions? Councillor Kushner?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'll start. The position that you're talking about, hiring the person, do you see that as a full-time position, or could it start as a half-time position? Like, how do you see that working?
Yeah, through the mayor, to Councillor Kushner. I'd probably defer, honestly, I'd probably defer that to administration. You know, they have a better idea of kind of their staffing and resourcing capacities and where this position may fit sort of in that organizational structure, and if there's sort of a co-responsibility with another gap within your staffing model. So I don't think I'm in the best position to answer that, but you know, obviously the more time they have, the more that they could advance some of these things and quicker. Yeah.
I can see that kind of being part of ECDev as well as the sport and recreation as well, maybe at the start. But there's some special qualifications that they have to have that you're asking for. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. Second thing is the capacity for the hotels. The occupancy rate is 68% in August and 49% in January. Do we know the other times where they're usually at as far as occupancy rates go? Sorry, I brainless on this.
No, it's all good. Yeah, good question. So, not to throw anybody under the bus here, but the data available through the province for this is a little bit sporadic. So we tried just to pick a couple different months recently that there was good data available for. So I don't have like kind of a comprehensive overview of like sort of when month by month the occupancy is at its highest or lowest, but we just wanted to pick sort of a summer and a winter month basically.
Okay, just that would be really good to know as we're moving forward on when we're going to be inviting people here, because we want our businesses to thrive, and if we bring in the sports, that's the whole reason why we're doing it, right? More than
Yeah,
anything else.
and I think that probably speaks a little bit to just the importance of engaging with the hospitality sector on an ongoing basis, because that probably does shift a little bit over time. And if you have, and I'm sure you do, but if you have that good relationship, then you can identify maybe when there is those shoulder seasons where they're not quite as busy, and they might be able to sort of, or they might be more desirable to host some of these groups that would come to town.
And I think that might help us with the levies as well then, if we can show them this is
Show the
what we're
benefit.
trying to do, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think there was just a comment from administration.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Through to Councillor Kushner, through the emergency management function of the town, we do track vacancy rates. I wouldn't say on a monthly basis, but on at least a quarterly basis. So we're seeing anywhere between 50 and 60% pretty much year round.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Sharoon?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Through to Mr. Sluda. You had mentioned that our pool is, we can have minimum competitions. As we move forward, what do we need? Do we need extra lanes? Do we need longer lanes? Would you have that data on hand? Thank you.
Yeah, through the mayor to Councillor Shurn, I think it's a few things, like the age of the facility, just the certainty that it's going to be available and it's not going to go offline is, you know, one challenge, right? Like if you're going to host a swim meet, you want to make sure you can host a swim meet. Yeah, I mean the kind of the support amenity around it, the blocks for lane swimming. I mean, it's just it's an older facility at the end of its life. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I don't have a question, more so just a comment. I think you just nailed the head, or the, whatever that quote is. Yeah. About the, you know, having somebody dedicated even just to keeping track of those metrics, right? Without having this information, it's like, where do we go? Do we capitalize on what we have? Do we need something new? You know, so the data that you're even presenting to us today, like, it's blowing me away. The GDP that the Pontiacs bring in, the Winter Invitational, you know, we know it's a big event that brings to the town, but actually getting the metrics down and giving us the numbers really gives us some good goalposts. And I think that's what we need, pardon me, going forward, so that it can help us inform our decisions as we're trying to decide, you know, what direction do we actually go in? Well, how do we know that? We need to see the data and the metrics. So thank you for providing this presentation this evening, and the strategy that I believe we're going to be going through later on in the meeting. Sorry, I thought you had your hand up. Okay, thank you so much. Have a good evening. Okay, next. Okay, we do have agenda item for the Lakeland, Keep Lakeland Politics Local. I'm not too sure if we have anybody here from that organization. No. Okay, we will move on, council. Okay. All right, we are now moving into the public hearing for amending bylaw 1603-25. If I can have council move us into public hearing. We have done the first reading, but
I will,
Councilor McAvoy?
I will give you the motion to move into public hearing.
All right, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Okay, so I now declare the public hearing open. I'll just turn it over to administration to present the bylaw to us.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will defer this over to Joe here.
Town of Bonnyville has been collaborating with a developer who intends to construct semi-detached dwellings on the properties located at 3603, 3605, 3607, 3609, 3611, 3613, 3615, and 3617 on 53rd Avenue. Currently, the properties are zoned as an R2 single-family small lot residential district where semi-detached dwellings are neither permitted nor discretionary. To facilitate the construction of these semi-detached dwellings, the rezoning of at least R3 medium-density residential district as per land use bylaw 1447-16 is required. According to the MGA, we had to advertise for the public hearing, and it has been, we did 3 advertisements in the paper, and a recommendation to proceed with the public hearing.
Okay, sure. Thanks, Mayor. I'm Gary Lapointe. I'm one of the owners with Envision Ventures. And what we're looking at doing is, since in the last couple of years, the safety building codes have changed in the province. So in essence, our lots that we have, our existing lots, we feel are too small for a rural community. In an urban center, you just build up. What we're trying to achieve is building a little bit bigger house than what we have, to basically get to a 3-bedroom home, either a 2-bedroom with a den, without going up. So now what we're trying to do is basically, they're classified as, in essence, a duplex, but they're not. We're not building 2 units on 1 lot. We're building 1 unit per lot with a common wall. And then what we're trying to achieve is our square footage will be about 1370 square feet versus a 1,200 square foot home. And then what we want to do to keep the neighborhood looking good is dress the front of the homes with hardy board and stone versus vinyl siding. And then the sides and the rear will be vinyl sided. And that's, so we're just trying to make an appeasing unit that's a little bit bigger than what we can, and actually enhance the district a bit is what we're really trying to achieve with this. And I don't know if you guys have any questions. And then initially, we're trying to keep it 1 level instead of going up 2 levels. And initially, we were going to build them just with a crawl space, but just for resale value. And then it expands it that a family could have them. We are going to put a basement on them. And but our initial goal was plus 55, but we're still trying to keep it open for families or whatever.
Okay.
And,
Council, do you have any clarifying questions for the for? Go ahead, Councillor.
Just a question, it has nothing to do with the buildings or the sites. At what point do you make like the extra entrances and exits to that subdivision? Because right now, there's only the one coming off that main drag. So when do you start, like, at what point, when the subdivision's half done, 3/4 done, what is kind of the rule of thumb?
Well, we'd be looking at it depending on the absorption rate of the lots. At present absorption rate, it's going to be a little while. And that, like, we've been sitting on 28 lots for I don't know how many years. So hopefully, we're hoping with the new product, we can stimulate some growth. And then as we come around, then as we expand into new lots, we'll be making larger lots. And then we'll kind of create the loop, they'll come out, but then eventually there'll be the tie-in to the new road they'll head up. I'm not sure what address it'd be classified as, but
Okay, thank you.
it'll be a bit though.
Councillor Langridge?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question. So we have, in the request and for the amending bylaw, you have 8 lots that you're looking to have rezoned. So it would be 4 units. Was the plan to build all 4 units right away, or is there 2 units, 1 unit? What are your guys' plan for that?
Two, 4 units, like it'll encompass 4 lots is what would be started right away,
And that would be started right away. You guys are hoping to start on that right away.
as soon as we get approval.
Okay.
Unless
Councillor McAvoy?
tomorrow.
Mhm. Councillor McAvoy?
Yes, I just want to confirm, this isn't changing the density at all in this subdivision?
No,
So the density stays the same whether they're separate buildings or whether you do the semi-detached that you're looking to buy. And these semi-detached will be separate titles.
that's right, yeah. So basically what we're trying to achieve, because you have a side yard variance right now of 5 feet. But if you put any windows on the side, you need 8 feet. So our lots are 40 feet wide. So right now we'd have a bill pocket of 30. If we put windows on the side, we're coming into 24 feet. So what we're trying to do is stay with a common lot line, a common wall on, and then if we come out 30 feet, it leaves us still 10 feet on the side. So it actually gives a little bit more room for landscaping. And potentially, like we were looking at, some raised gardens could go in between and stuff like that.
10 feet would be wide enough to put a driveway through to a rear garage.
No, there's the back alley there.
You have the
would
back
access.
alley on these
Yeah.
ones. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, Councillor Kushner?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. So one of the few things that I heard through the letter writing campaign was they're worried about them become rentals and run down, and then so many more people being in that area. How would you address that part of it? Like, you're not building them to be rentals. I'm assuming you're building them to sell them, or even with their 55 plus, they wouldn't be rentals at that point either?
Well, the reality is what we're thinking is going to happen. It's going to become a plus 55 development, and they'll be owned. The intent isn't to rent them unless they're vacant and we can't sell them, then we'd be looking at renting them. But the intent is to sell them. And we're just looking at 8 lots for now. It's kind of an experimental product, and that's
And you
what-
don't see the density changing at all?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, if there are no further clarifying questions.
And then I'd make one more comment. So if anything, we'll have the front garages, so it'll actually alleviate a little bit of the parking on the road as well, because then they'll have the your apron in the front. So it'll actually enhance the area instead of congesting it with all the vehicles.
All right, thank you so much for your time.
Okay,
Thanks. Okay, I will also call to see if there are other further speakers wishing to speak on this matter. Please come forward. Yes. Yes. If you don't mind, just stating your name and if you're for and against, and then I'll give you a couple minutes to
Okay,
present.
my name is, excuse me, my name is Gladys Pashak, and I'm one of the residents up in that area. And Mr. Shamoon asked one of my questions, answered one of my questions. It's about the one entrance that I have an issue with. There's a lot of traffic right now. Like they've been building a couple of, in the back, and quite often when there's parked cars on either side, the street seems to be a little bit more narrow. And when the vehicles are parked, especially in the winter, I don't know if an emergency vehicle could go through there with one entrance. I have an issue with that. And anyways, when we did purchase the house, we were with the understanding of it being single-family dwellings and geared more to seniors. So I was hoping it would stay that way. But other than that, my real issue is the narrow street and the one entrance, the parking. Because even right now, like my neighbor has 4 vehicles parked. And I can see what the gentleman said before about, they're going to have their, the garage pads. But, I mean, I have driven around, and they have these garage pads, but there's a boat on one side, and there's maybe a vehicle over here, and there's all the other vehicles that they have are parked on the road, right? So it does not. That's what my issue is. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, I will call for a third time. Is there anybody wishing to speak for or against? Don't mind just stating your name and letting us know for or against. I know.
I'm Ron Rusnak. I also own a property in that subdivision. The thing about what you want to call it, it's still a duplex. The definition of a duplex is a building containing 2 separate living units, either side by side or stacked one above the other, sharing a single wall or common structure. So any way you want to call it, it's still a duplex. So I want to get that part out. I had some questions for the developer, but one of the concerns I've got is they've got some bigger lots just past these that are pie-shaped kind of in the corner. And my feeling is those are going to be harder to sell going forward because still driving by, whether it's 1 unit per lot or not, it's a duplex. It looks like a duplex. People driving by are going to have a hard time differentiating whether it's one lot on 1 lot or on 2 lots or how it's set up. I can see maybe expanding lots bigger in the future, and I agree with the maybe adding more 55 plus, which I agree with, but there's already a couple of 55 plus homes in there that I own one of them, and they fit on the lot, and I'm not sure that it's that tight because I'm not sure exactly building sizes, but that's something to look at. And with traffic, I agree with Gladys about the traffic. I'm not sure how fire trucks can get through there in an evening because with people parking on both sides of the street, it's a safety hazard. Even an ambulance, I think, would be tight going through there because they're a little wider than an ordinary vehicle. So I think entrances need to be looked at one way or another for that subdivision. And also the same thing of how often does this town change zoning midstream? It's all over town. It's been like that for 30, 40 years. You have a couple of lots here, someone wants to do something different, they come to get it rezoned, council passes it, and then you get stuff stuck in the middle of everywhere. Now, is this going to be the same thing with this subdivision? Because initially, my understanding is when you develop a subdivision like that, you have a layout of what is going to be where. And now you start changing a little bit here, a little bit there, then pretty soon the initial drawings that are put forward to get the subdivision accepted might as well get thrown out the window. Or else just come in and say, I'm developing this land, we'll see how we develop it as it goes along. So that's something for you guys to look at is towns do that regularly and they end up looking like a schmozzle and people look at it and say, well, why do I want to buy in this town when they got this sitting here next to this, next to this? We'll go to Cold Lake where the residential is all one section. R1 or R2 are the same place. they don't have a whole mishmash of stuff happening. That's about all I gotta say.
Right. Oh, yes.
Elaine Rusnak, the other half. I want to know from the developers if they have done any market research to see if this is what people in Bonnyville want to buy. I know a lot of people over 55, they don't want a shared wall. They want a single building, my husband. So have you done any research?
Well, sorry, this, we're
Yeah.
just hearing
Yeah,
from
like, is
those
there
born again.
research to say that this is what people are going to buy, or are they just going to buy it because there's nothing else to buy? And that's just my comment. Thank you.
Sorry, we can't have it a debate. We do want to hear back and forth. You're more than welcome to have a conversation after, if they're clarifying between the proponents, but I do appreciate all your comments and being here this evening. If there's nobody else who wishes to speak on the matter, okay, we will look for a motion to move out of public hearing and back into regular council.
I'll make that motion to move out of public hearing.
You, Councillor Johnson, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, now we need a motion to move into MPC, please. Moving into municipal council planning. Councillor Blanchett,
I will move us into MPC, Madam Mayor.
all in favor? That's carried. To my, okay, before us, we do have an agenda. Are there any additions to the agenda to the MPC? Are there any additions?
Sorry, Madam Mayor. No, we do not have any additions to the
No.
agenda this time.
All right, so a motion, Councillor McAvoy.
I will give you the motion to move or to
The agenda.
adopt the agenda, MPC.
All in favor? That is carried. And then we've got the municipal planning meeting minutes from June 24th, 2025. Were there any changes to these meeting minutes? Seeing none, adopt the meeting minutes, please. Councillor Sharon.
I will move that the MPC meeting minutes dated June 24th, 2025 be accepted as presented.
All in favor? That's carried. All right, so we have a proposed development permit. Who will be speaking on that?
I will, thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Town of Bonnyville Planning and Development Department has received an application for a double-sided blade sign that exceeds the dimensional limits outlined in the land use bylaw 1447-16. According to the bylaw, blade signs must not exceed an area of 0.5 square meters or project more than 1.07 meters from the building and must be set at least 0.15 meters from the building face. The proposed sign measures 0.965 meters in width, 1.18 meters in height, resulting in an area approximately 1.03 square meters, more than double the permitted size. The sign is also proposed to be set 0.61 meters from the building. As such, the applicant is requesting 106% variance from the bylaw's maximum allowable sign area and 47.7% variance from the maximum projection from the structure. Blade signs were originally incorporated into Town of Bonnyville's land use bylaw as part of a broader downtown revitalization initiative. While the provision applies to all land use districts, the dimensional standards were specifically designed to suit the downtown context where buildings are typically located closer to the property line, particularly along 50th Avenue. The bylaw prescribes a maximum blade sign size approximately 0.76 meters by 0.76 meters, which is about 30 inches by 30 inches, and a projection of 42 inches from the building. In contrast, the proposed sign is to be installed on a structure that is set back approximately 18.5 meters from 54th Avenue. Given this significantly greater setback, a larger sign surface area is required to achieve comparable visibility and effectiveness. The increased dimensions are therefore considered to be a reasonable adaptation of the site-specific context. We had sent out a total of 12 adjacent landowners, and we have had no replies or responses. It's the recommendation of the that the Municipal Planning Commission approve the development permit 25-D0060 with the provided conditions.
All right, thank you. I'll open it up to council. If you have any questions, Councillor Kushner.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Through to administration. The blade signs, the bylaw that we have for that. It says here, double-sided blade sign LED on the southeast corner of the building. I don't recall in that bylaw that LEDs were allowed on the signs.
It's just a lighted sign.
Okay, so those are allowed?
Yeah.
In our bylaw? Okay,
It would be same as having a backlit sign.
okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor McAvoy.
It's just, I appreciate the difference in location. We originally contemplated, like you said, the 50th Avenue corridor, but 54th Avenue, because the buildings are set back considerably more, we also have the higher speed limit as well. So it's more a comment that I think this is appropriate for that corridor. I don't know if I'd support this if it was on 50th Avenue, but I think I can support this if it's on Railway.
Any other questions, comments from council? No? All right, we're looking for a decision. Councilor Wojcik.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would echo Councillor McAvoy's comments, and as such, I will move that the Municipal Planning Commission approve the development permit number 25-D0060 with the 5 listed conditions in the RFD.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. I'll get a motion to move out of MPC, please. Councillor Kushner?
I'll give you that motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, next up, bylaw 1600-25, the Apex Utilities System Franchise Agreement renewal. Like to see that.
That will be me. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Attached is bylaw number 1600-25, authorizing the town to enter into a renewed distribution services and franchise agreement with Apex Utilities Incorporated. This bylaw was given first reading on May 13th, after which it was advertised by Apex in the local newspaper. There were no written objections to the renewal filed with the Alberta Utilities Commission, and the AUC has approved the franchise renewal agreement in disposition number 30166-D01-2025. As this approval has been confirmed by Apex in an email dated July 11th, the town can now provide second and third reading of the bylaw. Administration is recommending that council provide second and third reading to bylaw number 1600-25, the Apex Utilities Incorporated Natural Gas Distribution Services and Franchise Agreement, with $50,000 included in Article 1N and a franchise fee percentage rate of 21% in Article 5A.
Any questions for administration on this request? All right, we're looking for both readings, second and third.
No, just a question.
Oh,
please.
my apologies.
No worries. Through to administration, just out of curiosity, we have some old lines along the natural gas lines. So in your history, do you ever recall that we've had to pay like that $45,000 or those damages for relocations under this agreement? Is that something normal, or have we ever had to deal with that?
We have not had to ever pay for that. The $50,000 that's included in, I believe, Article 1N, that should any extra work be required either by the municipality or Apex, and at that point, we would enter into discussions and negotiations for compensation for either party.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, we're looking for a motion for second reading. Councillor Johnson?
I'll provide second reading on bylaw number 1600-25, Apex Utilities, Natural Gas Distribution.
All in favor? Carried. And we're looking for a motion for third and final reading. Councillor Langridge?
I will move third and final reading, Madam Mayor.
In favor? That's carried. All right, next. Let's get there. Okay, land use bylaw amendment for 1603-25, second and third reading.
Madam Mayor, I will defer over to Joe as well.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On July 8th, the council gave first reading to a land use bylaw amendment bylaw number 1603-25. As per as required by the MGA, the advertising for this amendment has been done on July 14th, July 21st, and August 18th. A total of 10 adjacent landowners were notified, and we have had three responses against the development. Key issues. A primary concern raised regarding this proposal is the perceived increase in the residential density within the area. It is important to clarify that the proposed semi-detached dwellings, while physically connected by a common wall, are single-family dwellings, and as such, the overall density of the neighborhood shall remain unchanged. The town of Bonnyville's municipal development plan supports the integration of semi-detached dwellings into residential areas, provided they maintain in the established form and character of single detached housing. This approach ensures that new development complements the existing streetscape and preserves the visual continuity of the neighborhood. It should also be noted that if any future rezoning proposals within subdivision, it will necessitate an amendment to the approved area structure plan to ensure alignment with long-term planning objectives. It's a recommendation that council provide second and third reading to land use amendment bylaw number 1603-25.
Thank you. I'll open it up to council for any questions or comments for administration this time. Councillor Kushner?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Through to administration. So one of the things that I did hear, and I actually took a drive down there, is the width of the streets and the comments that they're having there. Do we have any other streets in town that are, I think it's 40 feet or what it is? I think that's where I read. Are most of our other streets that size, or are they bigger, they're smaller? Sorry, I should have probably.
Most of them in the newer subdivisions are about that width.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Blanchett?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through to administration. In reviewing the letters that were received from the adjacent landowners, I noted that they were referencing what I presume to be 44th Ave in the Bow Vista area, and referencing density over there. Would you say that that's a fair comparison to this subdivision?
Madam Mayor, through to Councillor Blanchett. So there is a discussion that has been held on that. I think that we would have to be cautious on looking at that for what it is. There's two different classifications and styles there. When you look at it, I think the building type is more acceptable to being similar to what's being presented as an alternative idea for the location. But the density, if you look at the lots, are smaller on that street compared to what's in Eastgate. So the lot size in that area is smaller, which does have a higher density ratio versus what's being proposed with a regular lot size that has one dwelling on it. So be cautious on the comparables. I guess it's just on how we look at it. I think that we do need to be careful of that mindset a little bit.
Thank you. And if I may continue, Madam Mayor, just a comment, when we talk about properties having the potential to be rentals, as was mentioned, I would argue that any property within the town of Bonnyville under any ownership probably has the potential to be a rental. And the further comment regarding access by an emergency vehicle, I would say that no matter what you put there, it wouldn't alleviate that issue if it is an issue. So those are and I had one further question for administration as well. The reference to the area structure plan here, when do you have a date that ASP was approved?
Madam Mayor, through to Councillor Blanchett, 2011 was the approval date on that area structure plan.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Langridge?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through to administration, just wanted to for lots, one dwelling, two separate addresses. I do want to confirm that they will have back alleys present.
Through Madam Mayor to Councillor Language, yes, they will have back alleys or laneway access. I believe that there is in the area structure plan, there's an alleyway permit, designated through the back alley portion of that area structure plan. So yeah, it would have to be provided to that through the residents.
Okay, thank you, and I do appreciate that. I mean, and speaking to Councillor Blanchette's comment about the issues we've seen in other newer developments, and I definitely sympathize with some of the comments from the public hearing on the fact that when we've talked about it before at this table, the fact when, you know, if just because there's development, we've allowed it anywhere it can be put. So we got duplexes, fourplexes all over, and sometimes, especially there with no back alleys in Bow Vista, we see a lot of congestion issues in that one street. But when I look, and I've looked at this one hard, and I really appreciate the developers being here for the public hearing, understanding the timing of it, because if we were to rezone it and they were not being built this year or next year, or we do the rezoning, that would leave us exposed for other R3 type structures to be constructed. And so that was one thing I was quite concerned with. If they weren't planning on building right away, then they could end up, you know, if they did sell those lots, we would end up with a potential to have fourplexes built straight up and down on those lots. So I do appreciate their comment that they are looking to start right away. And I just want to make sure that our administration, you know, has taken the steps to ensure that the concerns from the citizens, the concerns from council are all, we can do whatever we can to mitigate those and ensure that the plan goes, if it does proceed, that it goes as planned. So yes, that was all for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson?
With some of the concerns that the residents have brought up, I definitely, with congestion, narrow street, I do understand what they're saying. I have driven out there in that subdivision, and like a lot of the newer ones, it's very, very congested at times. If they were building single-family dwellings, we wouldn't even be having this discussion, and it wouldn't change the scope of the amount of people living there, the amount of traffic there. It would still be the same. If they were single-family dwellings, just that they're going to be attached. And I look at it this way: it provides a bungalow-style home open to seniors or somebody who has maybe mobility issues, things like that, that take stairs away and that, and provide something that we don't have a lot here in town, which is one level to, you know, make it a little bit easier for them. With elderly parents, that's one thing I see, less steps, the better. So that's kind of my thoughts on it right there. I don't know. I would be willing to make provide the second reading for this. So.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none? Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Johnson.
Great. I will just get to the right thing. So I got that. I will provide the second reading for land use amendment bylaw 1603-25.
Okay. Thank you. All in favor? Carried. And now we are looking for a third and final reading on this bylaw. Councillor Blanchette.
I will move third and final reading, Madam Mayor.
All right. Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thank you for being here this evening. Appreciate it. Okay, we will move on to financial, although please, by all means, if you want to stay. For a riveting meeting. Yeah. Okay, move on to finances. We've got the financial report for June and July 2025. Maybe if you can just give a quick synopsis of June and maybe focus. Sure. If council is okay with that.
So attached are the June and July financials. That includes the bank reconciliation statement, the operating financial report for detail up until June, and then a summary to July. the capital budget financial report with a detail up until June and a summary for July, and then the capital project listings that we paid for to date. At the end of July, our bank account did have $6,886,603 in our general checking account, $22,203,044 in our savings account, and our notice on demand account had a balance of $240,970. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay. Any questions for administration? Councillor McAvoy?
Yes, through to our accounting people. The Frog Lake tie-in money that's sitting in there, as the Bonnyville Regional Water Commission moves into the Glendon project, and will we start seeing the grants for that project appearing in here?
The Glendon Waterline project, that will be with the commission. The Frog Lake Waterline was signed with the town of Bonnyville, so that's why it's still in here.
That's why it's.
And I believe there is about $10,000 left of that grant that has to be.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions for administration? No. Do you want two separate motions, or can we have one motion to accept both?
Madam Mayor, I think one motion will be fine.
I can have a motion. Councillor McAvoy?
I will move acceptance of the July and August?
June
and July financial reports.
Thank you very much, Councillor McAvoy. All in favor? That's carried. All right, moving on. Request from the Lakeland Center for FASD Light Up Monument Bonnyville.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we have had a request for from the organization to light up the town office and some of the facilities. At this time, the project, it would take a bit of an undertaking for the municipality. We're not quite prepared for this request. The lights that we have are fixed lights, and in order for that to be changed, we'd have to change the bulbs on those lights. And it would require, in some cases, going up 2 stories to change a light bulb at this point. What would be recommended from administration is that maybe we review this at a later date during budget process for maybe replacing those lights with something more conducive that is maybe Bluetooth or Wi-Fi compatible that we can remotely change. So A, it's safer for staff, and then B, we can use it for multiple occasions and during the year. Instead of just one-offs. At this time, it would just be a little bit too overcumbersome for staff to try and get this established for a one-night event. And then the challenge is just maintaining that. Hopefully, in the future, we could maybe come up with a better solution long-term.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for administration? Through to the CAO, I'm just curious. This topic actually came up at one of my other board meetings, and we talked about perhaps having some sort of policy in place, maybe a suggestion, as we're looking at infrastructure, maybe looking at some type of policy. That way, when these requests come up, it's pretty black and white what is acceptable or what organizations can or can't. Or I don't know exactly what it would look like, but it would just be a suggestion.
Yeah, further to your comment, Madam Mayor, I agree. We have that flag policy for the community pole outside, so it might be something to kind of be in line with that. And I agree with CAO Winfley's suggestion to have this be a more long-term solution that we discuss maybe during strat planning and the budget process, provided we're around this table, but that would be my comment as well.
Okay.
To answer your question, Madam Mayor, I think that having a policy would definitely be advantageous to have. It would help guide us as administration on these matters. Additionally, it would also help us be more proactive in preparing for these types of requests, giving us a bit more time. I know that this was submitted and it did give us a bit of time to actually discuss this. It's just more for administration, public works is how can we navigate those waters? And, the conversation could be had with council, do we want to spend some capital dollars on providing a new lighting system for this type of request? Obviously, it's not going to be just this organization. It could be for multiple organizations. It could be for multiple sporting events. It could be for municipal gatherings. It could be for a large amount of different options. So for the long term, it may be more prudent for the municipality to look at some long-term permanent solutions.
Agreed. We still do require a motion whether to approve. Councillor Kushner?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. I think it's a great idea to look into it and see if we can change colors, because I think there's a lot of things we can do with that. So I would make a motion that we respectfully decline, and hopefully you guys can tell them, you know, it's just too short a period of time, but we're looking forward to it in next year's budgets, and would be my motion.
Thank you. Any questions on the motion? All in favor? Carried. Okay, next we have the dates for 2026 budget delegation presentations.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The town contributes annually to many community organizations for the purpose of sponsoring events, operating grants for services, donations to projects, just to name a few. Any requests that are in excess of $1,000 are asked to appear as a delegation at a council meeting in the fall to present the requests for the next budget year. For Budget 2025, 17 community organizations presented their requests to council at 2 special meetings in September, as well as the September Governance and Priorities Committee meeting. For the 2026 budget year, 26 organizations received letters to submit their requests for funding and to appear as a budget delegation at a fall council meeting if required. Administration would like to recommend that council consider holding 3 special council meetings for this fall for presentations, and possible dates to consider are the September 16th GMP meeting, September 17th, September 18th, September 25th, and September 26th. So we're asking that council approve up to 3 special council meeting dates for the purpose of scheduling the 2026 budget delegation presentations.
Okay, thank you. Council, what would you wish to do? Go through it this evening or send out a doodle poll? Councillor McAvoy, you're gonna.
I think we should take a motion to 3 days deal with the doodle poll, because I know there's conflicts on the 18th and on the 25th.
Okay, all right, sorry. I don't know if we do or if it's. Okay. Okay.
Sorry, I will give you the motion to.
Sorry.
I didn't realize my mic wasn't on. So I will move that we designate 3 special council meetings for budget delegation presentations, and that direct staff to survey dates between the 16th and the end of September to establish them.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. All right, next we have a letter of support. We are ratifying a letter of support that was sent to the MD for the Invest Alberta submission for a petrochemical facility. Did you want to speak to that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On July 10th, the town of Bonnyville issued a formal letter of support to the municipal district of Bonnyville regarding its submission to Invest Alberta's request for information for an RFI process for establishment of a world-class petrochemical facility. Council had discussed this with administration, and it was recommended from administration to provide a letter of support for this large-scale project in the county. And from that, Cold Lake, the city of Cold Lake did also provide a letter of support for the project, and it was formally submitted to the Invest Alberta portfolio, and we wait to hear back.
Thank you. Any questions? No? All right, just a motion to ratify the letter that we sent. Councillor Lakeridge, please.
I will give you that motion to ratify the letter that was previously sent to the MD of Bonnyville.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Next, the Bonnyville Sports Tourism Strategy final draft.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I will share this with my colleague, try and get this figured out. So basically, the request from administration right now is to have the discussion with council on the progression and move forward on the sports and tourism strategy presented. Obviously the delegation tonight gave us a bit of a snapshot on where we need to go with this, what we're looking at, what to move forward on. So for administration's purposes, what we're looking for from council's direction on where you'd like us to go with this, if it's in, discussions were had that delegation provided we would need an additional staffing support for this position to move forward on the sports and tourism strategy to make it more wholesome. The question would be just more on what's council's feel for it, what's council's take on the draft study. Was the information provided to council appropriately enough, or is council looking for some more additional information? Administration at this point just wants to make sure that the final draft is completed to council's expectations firstly, but then secondly, moving into budget processes. What does administration need to start looking forward in regards to budgeting for 2026? So it's kind of where we're at right now with the requests to council on where we need is a little bit of guidance on what to do with the strategy and to move forward.
Okay, thank you. I will open it up to council. Any comments, questions, feedback? Councilor Fisher?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. One of the things I'd really like to see from this is, and it wasn't really in the report, but I know they have it, is the financial information that we can move forward to the different entities out there if maybe we want to have a levy moving forward, depending on how that's going to look. And we need those figures to back them up. So as long as we can get those figures through to administration, as long as we have those figures that we can say, listen, if we do this, this is what should happen, right? So then they're all business people. So they want to know, okay, this is going to be a bit of a pain in the butt for us. It's not going to cost them anything other than maybe some time for their staff, but still they need to know, they need to see the value in it. So I think that's probably the most valuable part for me in that whole report, and I would hope that we'd be able to get that information.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Langridge?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, basically just to, I guess, emphasize that, this report will be very valuable to us going forward when we look at different things through planning and budget delegations, or not budget but budget deliberations for the next upcoming years. So I don't know if we need a motion for this or not so if so, I would recommend that council accept the Bonnyville Sport and Tourism final draft as presented.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Yeah. Councillor McAvoy?
Yeah, there's a recommended motion attached to the end here where it also goes on saying to direct staff to present or direct administration to proceed with the implementation of the recommended actions and four things that I think we need to do more than just accept it. I think we need to direct staff to do something with it. I just, if you want to take a look at that motion, maybe amend yours.
Make the motion as presented.
As recommended. Okay. I'm clear.
Okay. You're good? Okay. All right, so motion on the floor to go with staff recommendation. Any questions on the motion then? No? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, next, the ATCO Electric Distribution Revenue Forecast, 2026 franchise fee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Attached is a letter from our ATCO Electric customer service representative advising of our forecasted 2026 franchise fee based on estimated distribution revenues for the town. This letter also outlines the procedure that must be undertaken to amend the distribution percentage franchise fee, which is currently 7.5% of the distribution revenue. The town did increase this percentage from 6.8% last year to 7.5%. The franchise fee for 2026 is forecasted to be $5,251 less than what was budgeted for in 2025. In 2025, the town budgeted $676,618 for the ATCO franchise fee, and based on the letter received, this amount is expected to decrease to $671,367. Although the distribution revenue estimate for 2026 is less than the 2025 budget, administration doesn't see the $5,251 amount being significant enough to consider asking for an increase in this year's franchise fee. Our recommendation is that council advise ATCO Electric Limited that we do not want to amend the annual franchise fee percentage for 2026.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for administration, comments? None. We are looking for a motion and decision. Councillor Sharon?
I move that council advise ATCO Electric that we do not amend the annual franchise fee for the percentage for 2026.
All in favor? That's carried. Okay, next, request for sponsorship from the Stepping Stones Crisis Society.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Attached is a sponsorship request from the Stepping Stones Crisis Society asking for $15,000 for a Bob Cratchit Gold sponsorship level for the Festival of Peace Gala taking place on November 29th in Cold Lake at the Ag Society. The purpose of this event is to raise vital funds and foster awareness, celebrate community collaboration, and highlight the tangible impact of the work that they do. They anticipate approximately 400 attendees for this event, and proceeds from the gala will support essential operations including the emergency shelter, second stage housing, and outreach programs. In the past, council supported this event by purchasing a table to attend the gala. Ticket sales start in September at a cost of $125 each. This event will be taking place the same weekend as the Festival of Trees in Bonnyville, so it may conflict with town events happening the same night. Administration is recommending that council purchase a table of 8 at a cost of $1,000 for the 2025 Festival of Peace Gala.
Questions for administration? Councillor Blanchett?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I see that it is noted that this event is taking place on the same weekend as Festival of Trees, and I can confirm that it is on the same night as our Santa Claus parade. My suggestion would be, given that if we purchased a table of 8, we would likely struggle to fill that table, given we would probably be all in attendance at our event here in town. So perhaps an alternative would be to take that $1,000 and put it toward a sponsorship. I believe there's a $1,000 sponsorship level included in the package. That would be my suggestion.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? No? Would you like to? Sure.
I will move that council commit to a sponsorship in the amount of $1,000 for the Stepping Stones Festival of Peace Gala.
Okay, any questions on the motion? No? All in favor? Carried. Okay, next, the funding request for the Kewin Cree Nation powwow.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Attached is a letter from Councillor Jamie John, Kewin Cree Nation, requesting sponsorship for the Kewin Cree Nation powwow being held on September 9th to 14th, as well as an invitation to attend and participate in the grand entry. If approved, the funding will be used to support the Treaty Week events throughout the week, including cultural teachings, youth engagement, wellness initiatives, and land-based activities. Sponsors will be recognized in promotional materials and publicly acknowledged during the events. The 2025 operating budget includes $1,000 for this event, and the recommendation is that council approve the sponsorship for the amount of $1,000 for the Kewin Cree Nation powwow.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on the request? All right. So you, Council? Councillor Johnson?
I'll make the motion that we approve the sponsorship in the amount of $1,000 for the Kewin Cree Nation powwow that was allocated in the budget already.
Okay, all in favor? Carried. Next, the Leica Municipal Board Director seat appointment invitation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It was brought to my attention that we will need to reappoint a position or a councillor position onto the Leica board, as well as if council wishes a alternate member, either administration or council to the board. So the Leica Land Industry Community Association Environmental has formally invited the town of Bonnyville to appoint a representative and alternative to the Leica Board of Directors for the upcoming October 2025 to September 2026. And council has a permanent seat on this board and has always retained a seat on this board.
Okay, questions or comments? Councillor Sherman?
Yeah, just a question under the options, so that if we deferred, we do have a member on that board now, right? So do we need to appoint for 2025, 2026, or can our member stay on there till the end of the election, and then in October when we have our organizational meeting, see if that's where we want to go again, or?
Madam Mayor, through to Councillor Sherwood. I would have to find out. I'm not 100% sure. The letter came in and it was just the request that we received. I would assume that we would be able to continue on with the board member that's currently sitting until the organizational meeting in October after the elections. I don't understand myself why we would reappoint a council member or administration at this point, just to reappoint again in November, essentially. So I would say that we would probably be able to leave as is until October, where council can make that decision.
Yeah, just under the options, it says to defer appointment until the municipal election with the risk of the seat may be temporarily unfilled, but we'll be running right through to the new election, and then after that we have our organizational meeting, so there should be a continuum, right?
And again, sorry, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Sherwin, I would apologize, that's my wording on that, based on my information, and I did actually misread this a little bit, and I assumed that we didn't actually have a member appointed to this board previously, and I was corrected on that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, so that clarified it, because we've always done this through our organizational meetings. There is no real expiry date on that. It's always been addressed there, so I think we just leave this until our organizational meeting. Bill wants to do another term.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. It's just that it says, please confirm that the town of Bonnyville is interested in appointing a representative and or alternative for the upcoming term by September 15th, 2025.
Yeah.
If not, the seat will be offered to the next municipality within the rotation. So I think we need to appoint somebody. And then if, let's say it's me, because it has been all along, I don't get reelected, then at that point, in mid-November, we'll do our appointing then. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, through to my counselors who sit on this, is this something new? I don't think it's coming to us previously in council meetings. Sorry, CAO.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, just for clarification, I think when I wrote this out, I was under the understanding that we hadn't actually received this before, and I was standing corrected. We did have a board member appointed to this, and I think that my wording on this is actually what's the issue. It's not necessarily the request. So I think we'd be okay to leave it as is till the organizational meeting, and then I'll double check with them for sure, but I'm pretty sure I misunderstood it and wrote it incorrectly.
Well, we do have time. If it is, in fact, they need a decision by September 15th, we do have another meeting before that, and so it can always come back to us. Yeah. So how do we do this? Do we just table it, or don't really want to make a decision?
Madam Mayor, I would say we could table it to the next council meeting, and I can bring back further information.
Okay, all right. So if I can just have a motion, tabling, right? Councillor Blanchett, Councillor Langridge.
I will give you that motion to table this item until the next council meeting with more information, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. All right, Main Street project budget allocation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So Alberta Transportation has recently indicated that they don't intend to repair any town-owned infrastructure during their upcoming upgrade on Highway 28. To get a better understanding of the infrastructure condition, administration completed a field-level assessment and obtained an OPC. It was then determined that much of it is at or near the end of its useful service life. The estimate to complete was received at just under $300,000. Documents that are available for council's review include the internal field level inspection assessment and the opinion of probable cost. Key issue. So administration is seeking direction on whether to repair town-owned infrastructure before or after the province completes its work on Main Street. The preferred strategy is to incorporate the additional scope of work in the AT plan project. By doing this, the town would save effort on managing its own contract and would reduce construction impact as it would be incorporated into the larger AT project. Additionally, completing this work in the near future would assist with revitalization efforts. Further, to ensure this work is completed in a timely manner, it is recommended that an additional allowance of $100,000 be incorporated into the budget to facilitate any potential construction management changes. A few alternative options include complete or manage the scope of work under a different contract and manage it outside of the AT project, or complete the repairs as required in the future. The recommendation is that council fund the Main Street upgrade of $396,667.80 from the General Capital Reserve.
Thank you. Do you want to speak to it? Or
Yes, Madam Mayor, I would also like to add that this was communicated back to Alberta Transportation last week, and the week before we had tried to contact them or reach out to them a couple times with no response. So the hope would be that if they can get this in as a change order into their tender, then it would obviously save the municipality some substantial dollars. The only concern is with the time frame of what the Alberta Transportation tender we're out for tender right now. Their timeline's pretty tight in the fact that they want to get this construction season on this started by mid-September to end, and they want to be completed by end of September for this project. Where administration has some concerns is that we would need to move forward as soon as possible, at minimum, on the ring portion of the manhole covers. So that way we're not recutting up asphalt to basically put the rings in after the fact. So it's more of a trying to be proactive and making sure that at least the rings are done to prevent any damage to the new tar or the asphalt once it's laid down. The other portions can be addressed after the fact, but it would be more prudent to just be dealt with all at the same time. Hence the additional $100,000 contingency, just in the off chance that if we have to go forward with it with our contractors, then we would obviously have to pay more than what Alberta Transportation is going to pay on the larger scale project. So our mobilization fees are a bit more expensive to get the contractors to come out and do the work. So the hope would be that we can stay within that $300,000 range, but knowing that we would probably pay more just on principle and by other projects that we've compared it to, knowing that the additional $100,000 would keep us in that range and being able to complete the project in full.
thank you. Questions or comments for administration? Councillor Kushner, lead us off.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. So there is a 10% contingency in there. So you're talking about $130,000 extra is what we're going to be at, correct? Because you're at 296 and then you want 396, and in that 296 there was a 10% contingency. So we're looking at, like I said, about another $130,000 in there. I get it. I just, one of the functions of council is to make sure that we spend the money wisely. I do think it is wise to do this while they're doing that. There's no doubt in my mind for that. But I would really like to see this looked after, this $396,000 looked after to the penny as much as possible. I don't want to see this being just frivolous, here you go, do it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm torn. I know we need to do it. That's not the issue. It's just an extra $130,000 on a $296,000 is a lot of extra money. So anyway, my opinion.
All right, thank you. Anything else? Any other questions from council? Councillor Schrin?
Yeah, just one question, and I agree with Councillor Kushner that this has to be done because we don't want to be tearing up the pavement. But my question is, even if the work is done and we do end up with cost overruns for whatever reason, are we able to apply for any grants or any assistance from the province or the feds to assist us with that, with a matching grant, even it would be after the fact, or are we kind of, this is just what it is?
Madam Mayor, through to Councillor Schroon. There may be some opportunities, but we're not aware of any at this time. Transportation has some grants available, but I'm just not sure if they fit the scope of the grants. So we'd have to investigate that a little bit further and let you know later at a later date if that's okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, question, Councillor Johnson?
Yeah, I think it's prudent we go ahead with this just because if you're doing one big project, get it done all at once, it'll end up saving you in the long run. I think of 46th Street when TELUS came through and tore up brand new pavement after it was done. So, a little redundant after work's already been done. And just, Main Street, I think, was redone in between 93 and 94, if I'm not mistaken. So it's definitely time for a refresher. So, but my 2 cents.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Langridge?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through to administration, can you just walk me through a little bit this opinion of probable cost? Now, how do we typically come up with that? Is that strictly an internal process, or do we have engineers that kind of give us the best guess through? Because I know we use Stantec for the majority of our roadways and infrastructure. I'm just curious, how do we come up with that? And I mean, we say the internal field level inspection and assessment is available. I haven't seen it personally, so I'm just kind of wondering, what does that opinion of, how do we come up with that number?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through to Councillor Langridge. I think that we have gone through some due diligence on the inspection portions of it, and I'll let Brad speak more on this in a second here. The process for us is we would go through, do the cammering, we'd do the inspections ourselves, document it, and then send it off to an engineering firm to get a little bit more scope. But I believe in this instance, we did have them actually come out and look with our staff. So Brad, if you can maybe comment on this a little bit better than I can.
You bet. So we had Stantec, they generated this opinion of probable cost based off of assisting us with a few manhole inspections. And then after the fact, we came in early one morning, took some pictures, we sent everything back into them, and then they based the rest off of photos. And so this one's, and getting more to the opinion of probable cost, this one's a little more different than what we typically do because it is on Main Street. Stantec, they actually based their opinion of probable cost on some Alberta Transportation Funding Zones numbers. I'm not completely familiar with that, but from what I understand, Alberta Transportation, they have some numbers, some prices that they, like a price range for different aspects, and they will award or not award a project based on that price range, and that price range is public. So we've used that price range in this, assuming that Alberta Transportation would be taking on the contract. It would be their numbers. It would be based on their numbers. The risk is, and so that's a good thing. Typically, the time of the year, it's not the best time of the year to be looking for work. Like, you're not guaranteed a good price this time of the year. You can, it all depends on the market. So that's the risk of, that's the uncertainty of the different pricing. So we're optimistic that by using AT's pricing, if they can include it in this, it's a little more locked in. They'll manage the project. We'll save on mobilizations, traffic accommodations. There's some efficiencies there, and you can get the work done in time.
So, and thank you for that, Brad. And so now my second question would be, our plan would be that they would make this a part of their tender, and we would be paying basically Alberta Transportation to cover this portion of it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Over to Councillor Langridge. Yes, that is exactly correct. The hope would be that we could get underneath the provincial government's tender package. So when they award it out, it would all be encompassed into one package, one project with one contractor. Whether that contractor subcontracts it out, that's on their prerogative. But the hope would be that we could piggyback onto their projects so that we would save cost on the mob fees and all the additionals that come with that. So if the municipality were to go at it alone, then that's why we're saying we need the extra $100,000, because at this point, that 10% contingency would only apply to Alberta transportation funding amounts. So we would need some flexibility into making sure that we get the project done before Alberta Transportation comes and mills the road and paves it. And again, we're not confirmed, or we haven't had any confirmation from Alberta Transportation on where they're at with their project tender at this state. Like I said before, we have reached out to them on a couple occasions and still have not received any feedback or any emails back from them. So the challenge there is we're kind of flying in the dark in some ways on their tender package and where they're at, but at the same time also trying to prepare ourselves for the possibility of having to do it on our own.
So, and so I'll be frank, and through the CAO Winfrey, typically I've never, in my 4 years, never seen an ask where we have a number of opinion of probable cost with a 10% contingency, and then just a random $100,000 being thrown on top of it for just in case. So that's the part that I have a problem with, because you're asking for a 33% contingency, not a 10%. So if the motion or if the documentation would have been worded that we needed the 396,000, that's our opinion of probable cost, and we came in under, great. But now I got this part that we were looking for an extra $100,000 and we don't really know if we need it or not, but we would like it. So I guess learning how to with your request and method on this, because you are, this is only your third or second council meeting. So I'm just trying to understand is this only because of this project and the timeline and the way that the lack of response that we've received from AT, so we're just really trying to cover our butts, or is this typically how you would word this? Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through to Councilor Engridge, I would agree with your assumption, and how you've worded that exactly right is kind of how we're trying to deal with it. No, it's not how I would regularly bring this forward to council, because it's a little bit, I agree with you. It's a little bit hard to understand where that 100,000 contingency would go. It's for us, it's just we're kind of flying in the dark until we hear from Alberta Transportation to either that we got underneath their tender, or we need to deal with it on our own. And we're kind of in that position where it's a time sensitive issue, where if they tell us next week that the municipality needs to go figure it out on their own, we've got a very short window of opportunity to go get that work done before they show up, if they tender and move forward with their project. And unfortunately, that's just kind of the situation that we're in, and we have little control over how that's actually going to play out based on what the provincial government's doing. So no, I would say that this is a very one-off situation, and it's not something that I would definitely reoccur in any way. It's not a proper way of providing information to council, to be quite honest. I agree.
Okay, good. All right, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, so best case scenario, we hear from them shortly. We can jump on the bandwagon as far as they can just tender it out as an entire project and it all gets underway. But worst case scenario is that they say no and we're going on it on our own. And then I guess then we also don't know when they're going to do it.
That would be correct.
You know, it could be in October, it could be this fall, and because we don't know, it could be in the spring.
Correct.
Okay, that's pretty clear. Okay, all right. If there's no further questions or comments, we are looking for a decision from council. What say you? Anybody interested? Councillor Kushner?
Well, I think we have to do this. We don't want to have that same 46th Street where they're digging things up right after it was just done. So I'll take administration. I think they're doing the best that they can in this situation. And I would make the The motion that we approve Main Street upgrade of $396,667.80 with funding allocation allocated from the General Capital Reserve.
Thank you. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. All right, let's move on to committee reports. Start with Councillor Johnson, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. All right, July 14th, I had a C2 board meeting. On July 16th, a Historical Society meeting. July 21st, Ohana Center meeting. August the 2nd, I went out to hang in the 30s and helped with serving supper that night. August the 4th, I actually volunteered at the museum for the day, so we were open during Heritage Day. I had fun playing with the train. That was just a side note though. August the 5th, I had an opportunity to sit in on a radio interview that was conducted by former Councillor Ray Prévost. CBC Radio, the French station, had picked up the story of the St. Anne's Bell that we had moved over to the museum. And Mr. Prévost was instrumental in getting that bell there. He was the one who made it happen. And as well as St. Anne's Chapel being brought over to the museum. So I was honored that he did the radio interview for us, just because he was the man with the history and did so much work behind it. And his French is way better than mine. So August the 19th, I had a governance and priorities meeting. August the 20th, Historical Society meeting. August the 21st, Events Committee meeting. And last night we had a C2 meeting. That's all for me.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple of holes that I was just filling in there, but all right, bear with me. On July 14th, I believe we're at C2 meeting, the 15th GNP meeting, the 17th Alberta Winter Games, and then we had more Alberta Winter Games on the 30th and 31st. We did on the Winter Games, we had to make a couple tough decisions, but we did decide that we will be hosting all the games available. There was some questions about costs and whatnot, but I am happy to report that we will be hosting all the athletes. And there was one event at the ski hill that we're going to make sure we host it regardless, even though it's a small number, but we wanted to make sure that the Lakeland Winter Games hosts everyone possible. So then I was lucky to play a little bit of golf at the chamber tournament with some of my council counterparts on August the 8th, and then followed by the GNP meeting on the 19th, as well as a library. We talked a little bit about budget on August 20th. We went over to make sure that the library would be prepared for the upcoming delegations of the town. On the 21st, an events committee meeting. On the 22nd, I was again fortunate to play golf at the Dragonfly event, and I believe, and the C2 board meeting last night, and that is it for me.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On July 16th, I did the Tim Hortons Camp Day. On the 21st, Ag Society, and on the 24th, Madam Mayor and I golfed in the Indigi Connect golf tournament in Edmonton, which was great. Met a lot of people, and yeah, we had a great score. On August 2nd, I did the helped make some prepping for the hang in the 30s. On August 8th, the Chamber's second annual scholarship golf tournament. August 11th, Ag Society. August 18th, another Ag Society production meeting. On the 19th, the Hive Kickstand stakeholder engagement. 19th, governance and priorities. On the 20th of August, we had a walkthrough with the Deputy Minister, David Williams, at the Coal Lake Lodge. We went through some deficiencies, some new projects. It was an all-around great for the Assistant Deputy Minister to come and spend time with us, and he did fantastic, learned a lot. It was great. August 20th, Lakeland Lodge and Housing Foundation regular meeting in Glendon. And on the 22nd, the Dragonfly charity golf tournament. I just want to touch base on our coming event with the Bonnyville Ag Society for the Fall Fair and Rodeo, which is going to be held September 2nd. This year, we are also having the farmers market on the Sunday as well, with some Indigenous content. We are going to be having the teepee and set up like before. Indian relay races going both days. This year, we are going to have a lot of stuff for the kids to do. On Saturday, we're going to have kids mutton busting, and back from popular demand, the wild rooster chase. You catch them, you keep them. And then a dance again on on the Saturday. So looks like it's going to be a fun day for everything, and including the Indian relay races on Saturday at 4 o'clock and on Sunday at 2 o'clock. And they're co-sponsored with the Kihiwan Cree Nation. So we're working with them on this as well. So going to be a fun time. Lots of stuff for the kids to do, lots for the adults. So come on by. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, on July 10th, I attended the meeting with the Alberta Mid-Sized Towns Mayor's Caucus. July 14th, we had a regular C2 board meeting. July 16th, I also volunteered for the Tim Hortons Camp Day, and their job is so difficult. Like, it's amazing what they can do behind the drive-through window. They're just so amazing, and I really enjoyed my time there. July 17th, I had a BRFA regular board meeting and then a destination marketing meeting as well. On the 25th, attended the Tribal Chief Employment Golf Tournament, where we also, Councillor Shern is right, we also won an award for, what was it, something score?
Most honest score.
Most honest score. July 30th, attended an Alberta Winter Games meeting. On the 8th, August 8th, the Chamber's second annual scholarship golf tournament. On the 12th, CAO Winfley and I attended a meeting with the mayor and CAO of Cold Lake. August 19th, attended the stakeholder engagement for the Hive Kickstand. And then on the 25th, the C2 board meeting. I just want to give a shout out. We'll be seeing some changes over at the C2. We now have a new company leasing the Caffeinate on Ice. So I think the community is really looking forward to having them there, and best of luck.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. July 14th, I had a Bonnyville Wellness Coalition meeting. July 16th, I volunteered alongside Councillor Sharoon in support of Tim Hortons Camp Day. July 17th, attended my regular monthly check-in meeting with Assistant Deputy Minister Jen Anderson, and this time we were joined by Assistant Deputy Minister Toby Schneider, and we discussed how the service levels within Alberta Supports are impacting our FCSS programs across the province as they are increasingly filling gaps there. July 21st, regular SPCA board meeting. July 24th, the Friendship Center's Voice of the Land Festival, followed by the RCMP musical ride in Cold Lake, along with CAO Winfley. July 30th, I joined City of Wetaskiwin Mayor and Alberta Municipalities President Tyler Gandam at the AB Muni's office in Edmonton for an interview to highlight the value of FCSS in communities across the province. August 5th, along with other board representatives, I toured the Bonnyville and District SPCA shelter. August 13th, Bonnyville Wellness Coalition meeting. August 14th, another regular monthly check-in meeting with ADM Jen Anderson. August 18th, regular SPCA board meeting. August 19th, along with other members of council and our CAO, attended the Hive engagement session, followed by our Governance and Priorities Committee meeting. August 20th, as Councillor Langridge mentioned, we met with our library manager regarding the 2026 budget. August 21st, Events Committee meeting. And then August 22nd, participated in the Dragonflies charity golf tournament. August 23rd, participated in the Bonnyville Junior A Pontiacs Golf Tournament. And then I had several FCSS AA related project and committee meetings throughout the summer break. And that's all from me.
Okay, I'll go back to July 15th, the Governance and Priority meeting, the 17th, the Bonnyville Regional Fire Authority. On the 24th, the Friendship Center Land Festival Grand Entry, and I had the opportunity to bring greetings on behalf of the town. Thank you, Councillor Blanchette. August 2nd, haying in the 30s, and serving supper out there is really quite amazing when you get a chance to meet and talk to people from all over Alberta and Saskatchewan that come to that event and raise funds for cancer supports in this area. August 5th, I had a meeting with the Lakeland Lodge and Housing. On the 19th, I attended the Hive Kickstand session. Let's see, I got a couple out of order here. On the 15th, I also attended the Coal Lake Lodge open house for the Coal Lake Seniors Lodge. And on the, gotta get it right here. I attended the meeting with Lakeland Lodge and Housing with the Assistant Deputy Minister and the tour in Coal Lake, and then the Lakeland Lodge and Housing Board meeting in Glendon. And then there was 2 other meetings with Lakeland Lodge and Housing regarding a special project they're working on as well.
Okay, July 22nd, I had the Alberta Air Hub engagement session online. August 14th, Lakeland Co-op Agro Day. August 19th, the Hive stakeholder engagement. Again on the 19th, governance priorities. And then on August 23rd, had the pleasure of going to the Junior A Pontiacs Golf Tournament. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to correspondence. We received a letter in regards to the Community Building Fund, just letting us know what our allocation is. We also received an invitation, which you all would have already received an invitation in your calendar for the FASD Mocktail Challenge and Barbecue. My apologies. And then we have a proclamation. Whereas fetal alcohol spectrum disorder is a diagnostic term that describes the range of effects that can occur in an individual who is prenatally exposed to alcohol. The town of Bonnyville, on behalf of Mayor and Town Council, do hereby proclaim September 9th, 2025 as Fetal Alcohol Syndrome Disorder Awareness Day and September as Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder Awareness Month in the town of Bonnyville. All right, and then we have the Appendix A with our community organization funding current up to August 21st. Any questions for administration? Councillor Blanchette?
Madam Mayor, through to administration, I had brought a concern to CAO Winfley's attention in the past couple weeks regarding some fire hydrants being out of service in the town of Bonnyville. And I am just wondering if you have an update on those.
Through Madam Mayor to Councillor Blanchette, I will pass this off to our Public Works.
Thank you. So, yeah, I understand we've had a few hydrants out of service longer than we'd typically like. That being said, we got one back into service today. We're planning to replace another one next week, and we've ordered some parts, and we're planning to dedicate some time to that this fall. You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Langridge?
Through to administration, just looking for an update. We had talked about it earlier this summer, but we've seen a little bit of construction happening on a couple of the properties downtown. Do we have an update on the Midtown property and the one on 50th and 46th?
Madam Mayor, through to Council Language, no, I don't have a current update beyond what I had given you last time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, any other questions? Administration, no? Okay, we do have quite a few items in camera. I will look for a motion to move into camera, please. Councillor Johnson.